we have the idea of the sun going down. True, in the first year, when it was about Timukal Ashmanim, and we had all the negativity that was involved with the illuminating the darkness and countering the Chachma of the Yevonim and so on. So then it had to be when the sun went down, because it was indicating that even in the darkness, we transformed it, etc., etc. But the question is, in the following year, when they established it as a Yom Tiv and the Beis Hamikdash was already purified and they had pure oil, etc., why on the date when they established it a Yom Tiv did they establish it in such a way that was Mitzvah Kachan? So the Rebbe started explaining that the sun going down has also a positive quality. To explain that, he brought a pasuk from Kehelis that says that the sun rises, the sun goes down, and to its place where it yearns to, it shines over there. That the Rebbe is saying that specifically in the place that it's located in the lowest place where the sun sets, over there is the most powerful revelation of the sun, the most powerful shining of the sun. So he goes into it in levels above in the spheres and Oilmas. He says, El Mekoimoi, that it shines to its place, the level of place, Hamakim, when we use the Eibishter's name, Hamakim, that's the level of spheres HaMalchus, because Malchus has to do with the creation of time and place. And especially the way Malchus comes through the Parsa, it comes through the Parsa, through the curtain of separation to the worlds of Bri, Yitzir, Asiyah. So, and especially to be able to come down into the level of the Parsa, to come down into this physical world, it needs to go specifically through the Parsa. And that's what it means, the sun going down. The concealment of the Parsa is like the sun going down and being hidden. So now we'll continue in line 23 to the second idea in the pasuk. Once it goes to its place, once the sun goes down, once Malchus is concealed in the Parsa and it comes down into this world. So in line 23, 2 lines on the bottom of the page, he says, Achdaf Kesham, specifically over there, Toikiv Zrichas Hashemesh is a full force and power of the shining of the sun. Kimavur Betanya, like explained in Tanya, Shatachlis, Haishtalshal Oilam is the goal and the purpose of the chain descent of the worlds. Eine Bishvil Oilam is Hal Yoinim is not for the higher worlds, Hayavulahem, Liyeridam, or Panvis Barach, since they have a descent in their coming into being, they now descended from what they were initially. Atzilus, for example, was much higher before it became a world, so it didn't gain by its coming into being. The Rebbe adds in the brackets. The intention of the Alter Rebbe in saying this, that all the worlds, by coming into being, they are a descent. It's a descent for them. It's not only on the world of Atzilus that it reveals what was there concealed before. So that very revelation shows that it's a descent. Even the worlds that are higher than Atzilus, whatever level of revelation you want to talk about, also they are a descent from the light of Hashem's face than what they were initially. Therefore, being that all of these worlds are a descent, so it can't be that the purpose was for them. Ella, but Alter Rebbe explains, the goal and the purpose of all the creation is this low world, that there's nothing lower beneath it. This is the end of the line of the whole Seder Ishtalshlus. In the end is the entire purpose. And in that end, Visham Dafka, specifically there, in this lowest level, Maschil Inyan Haliyad and Asava Kodesh Baruch Hu Baruch Dirab Dachtoin, begins the ascent that Hashem desired to have a home down here below. This is what means the sun set and to its place it is reaching towards, it's shining over there. When the sun sets. And we said before, the sun has to do with Shem Yud Kei Vav Kei, Shalom Meir, Shem Havaya. The setting of the sun indicates that the name Yud Kei Vav Kei is not illuminating and not shining. In Dafka, specifically then, who Toikev Zrichs HaShemesh is the full force of the shining of the sun. Gilui Ha'atzmus, the revelation of Hashem's very essence. Whereas in the other worlds, in the places where Shem Yud Kei Vav Kei shines, they do not have the level of Hashem's essence, because over there was no nis'ave, there was no desire that Hashem wanted a home over there. So now he brings that back to the idea of Ner Chanukah being when the sun sets. Now we see the great quality of the sun setting. The sun setting does not just indicate the darkness that was there during the time of the Greeks, and then that was the next year when they established the Yom Tov. That darkness wasn't there that we had to be concerned about. But rather, the setting sun is the indication of the great quality of the Ur that's down here. Line 11, V'zeh Inyan Ner Chanukah. Mitzvah Mishutishka Chamadavke. That's the idea, that the Chanukah candle, its mitzvah is from when the sun goes down specifically. Tishka Chamale Mal Yusa, that the sun set, meaning in the advantage and the quality of it. Shadavka, specifically then when the sun sets, who gives Zerichas Hashem the Gilui Atzmus, is the full power and force of the shining of the sun, the revelation of Hashem's essence. So that is the great quality of sundown, that because of that, even now, even when there isn't the Yevonim's darkness of Timul Kol Hashmanim, etc., we still light the Chanukah licht when the sun goes down. Ois Daled, line 14. According to this, when you understand, and if sundown is such a wonderful thing, why of the different mitzvahs that we have with candles is specifically Ner Chanukah, the one that's done after the sun goes down? Mashenkin Ner Shabbos for Ner Hamikdash, as opposed to Shabbos candles and the Beis Hamikdash Ad Lakosum Koydem Ashkia Dafke. Both of these candles need to be kindled specifically and particularly before Shkia, whereas Ner Chanukah is specifically and particularly after Shkia, after sundown. If sundown is so wonderful, if it's so great, once beforehand, before we explained the greatness of sundown, we only spoke about the negativity, that's about the darkness. So the Chanukah candles has to do with the dark times of the Yevonim. So it's understood why over there the sundown has an importance that we should light after sundown. And Ner Shabbos, and Ner Beis Hamikdash, it's about illumination, it's about light, it's about godly revelation. So therefore, you light the candles by day. But once we explained the Maila, that's Tishka Chama, that over there there's a much more powerful light in that lowest level. So if so, the Ner of the Beis Hamikdash should also be lit after Shkia, and Ner Shabbos should also be lit after Shkia. So he says also in line 17, in general, we need to understand why is there even a need for all three matters of Chanukah candles, the Shabbos candles, and the Neiros of the Beis Hamikdash? The fact that they take place at different times is of no consequence. If whatever Chanukah has to accomplish is accomplished in those 8 days of the year, it's fine. But and that's obviously enough. So the fact that they are redundant, the Rebbe says in the parentheses, is especially emphasized when Chanukah and Shabbos coincide. So he says in the parentheses, "Kumudgish b'Shabbos Chanukah," like this is emphasized during a Shabbos of Chanukah. Sheroim, that we see sheyesh neiros Chanukah and neiros Shabbos. We see there's both Chanukah candles and Shabbos candles. And through an appropriate remembrance, there's also the Neiros Hamikdash beruchnius, meaning this is part of the idea of Neiros Chanukah is also to help us recollect that there was this miracle that happened in the Beis Hamikdash with the Neiros of the Beis Hamikdash. So Hayom Ha'elu Niskarim V'Naisim, that Rebbe always repeats the word, that by remembering something, it's as if it's done. So the truth is, we can have all three things simultaneously. We have the Shabbos candles when it's Friday night. We have the Chanukah candles when Chanukah is on Friday, Shabbos. And if we're remembering the Beis Hamikdash, which is part of what the Chanukah candles are about, so then that remembrance alone means that we have the neiros of the Beis Hamikdash also. So seemingly, what's the need for all three? If the neiros Chanukah are so wonderful and so amazing, that you have this greatest thing, within 200 is already included 100. If you have already the powerful idea of Neiros Chanukah, so therefore, what do you need to have in addition to that? Also, the Neiros of Shabbos and the Neiros of the Beis Hamikdash. He says in line 23, the idea behind this is, it's explained in Sharich V'Amun and Tanya, there are two meshing and combining of the names of Hashem. That each name of Hashem indicates, obviously, a different godly power and revelation. And there's the way these two names intermingle with each other. There's Shiluv Havaya Ba'adnus, like we see in some Sidurim, that you have the letters Yud Kei Vav Kei intermingled and like printed inside the letters of the name Aleph Daled Nun Yud, and then you have the other way, V'Shiluv Adnus B'Havaya. You have the way in the name Yud Kei Vav Kei, there's these little letters of Aleph Daled Nun Yud, which indicate a spiritual meshing of the two levels. But in that spiritual meshing of the two levels, there's the way the Adnai is meshed into Havaya, or the Havaya is the one that comes into or concealed within the Adnai. The Hine Shem Adnai, Shem Adnus Ulamatam Shem Elakim. In the different hierarchies of the names of Hashem, there are names that indicate revelation, and there's names that indicate concealment. Shem Yud Kei Vav Kei, as we said, is likened to the sun that's illuminated and shines. Shem Elikim indicates Hashem's concealment, but not to the degree that the name Aleph Daled Nun Yud indicates concealment. Ki Shem Elikim Moire Shu Koichacha V'Chayuscha. The name Elikim, which means power, so when we use the name Elikim, it's indicating that Hashem is the power of everything. He's the vitality of everything. He's the energy within everything. What does that mean? The power, the vitality, the life force, the energy means that everything else is subsumed in that and subservient to that. The existences, the creations have no separate entity in existence for themselves. Like, for example, when you have our neshama and our guf, our nefesh and our guf, we're not going to say that the nefesh is just our chayis, and it's a power, and it's a strength, etc., etc., and then there's the body. No, the body and the soul, the nefesh and the guf are completely combined, and the guf, the body, has no separate individuality other than the soul that gives it life. So that's the same thing with Shem Elikim. Shem Elikim still shows that godliness and the world is not separate, and the world is not an independent being from the divine energy of Shem Elikim that energizes it and gives it vitality. That is Shem Elikim. Omnam, line 3, Shem Adnus. Meloshin Adnus, the name of Adnus from the expression of being a master. Hainushu Odoin Aleved. When you use the term master, it means he's a master over a servant. As soon as you're saying that, you must be talking about a separate entity. A servant is a separate entity. to such a degree that the Chazal say the avda befkeren nichalei. An eved, a servant, desires, wants, is more comfortable with being free of any type of obligations. So that shows how, to what degree the chayis of or the idea behind Shem Adonai is, how low it reaches. It's to such a level where it's dealing with things that are in a separated state from Elokus. So now, getting back to the Shilov of Shem Yud-Kei Vav-Kei and Shem Adonai, which are really now two extremes. Yud-Kei Vav-Kei is Meir Shemesh Havai, it's even higher than Shem Elokim. Adonai indicates that there's a servant, there's someone separated. So he says in line 6, by Yichud Shem Adonai and Shem Havai, Yesh B'Shnei Efanu. And the unity and the joining of Shem Adonai with Shem Yud-Kei Vav-Kei, there are two types of approaches. Shilov Havai Ba'adnus, the meshing and the joining of Havai and Adnus, meaning Hainu the Shem Havai and Nimshach B'Shem Adnus, the name Yud-Kei Vav-Kei comes down to Shem Adnus Milmayl Lamata, from above to below. And then there's the other direction, the Shilov Adnus B'Havai, which is not about Yud-Kei Vav-Kei descending, but the other way. Adnus mis'ala b'Shem Havai Milmata Lamayla, that the Shem Adonai ascends in the name Yud-Kei Vav-Kei from below to above. Similar to what it says, I will make you walkers, goers amongst these standards. The Koi al Yisrael Shem Mahalchim, it's referring to Yidden that they are considered travelers. They are going, as opposed to Oimdim, those that are standing still, are the Malachim. Now, the Rebbe emphasizes Mahalchim Daike Lashon Rabim. Specifically, he says over here, traveling in the plural. Travelers doesn't just mean plurality of Yidden, but it's a plurality of the type of travels. Kivin sheyesh shtei halichis. There are two types of travels: halicha l'mata l'mayla, v'halicha l'mayla l'mata. The traveling from above to below, like the shilov of Havai ba'adnai, versus the traveling from below to above, which is the shilov of adnai ba'avai. Based on this, he's going to explain the difference between those lights that are lit after, which is Chanukah, versus those lights that are lit before. Line 16. This is also the difference between Shabbos candles and the Beis HaMikdash candles, versus the candles of Chanukah. The candles of Chanukah we shine specific, we kindle dafke when the sun goes down. Since the idea behind it is drawing down from above to below. Even when the sun goes down. That's just like Shem Yud-Kei Vav-Kei coming down in Shem Adonai. And that is the idea that you have the whole idea of it's about illuminating the darkness. Even now we have to illuminate the darkness, and we put it on Pesach Beis and Bachutz, like the Rebbe emphasizes in many places. It's all about coming and reaching outwards from above to below. We bring from the higher to the lower. That's why we have to have it lit after Shkia. But with all the milas of that dafke in the darkness and below and Olam Hazat Tachten, and that's where it's Nisava Kodesh Baruch Hu Liyos Leidir V'Tachtoinim, we still need the other direction as well. We still need Neiros Shabbos and Neiros to the Beis HaMikdash. So he says, Ilu, line 20, Neiros Shabbos Madlikim Dafke Kodim HaShkia. Shabbos candles we light specifically before Shkia. Since the purpose is of the Shabbos candles to raise up from below to above, meaning because we know the whole idea of Shabbos is the idea of Aliyas Ha'olmas, So therefore, the Shabbos candles, being part of what Shabbos is about, is also about raising up and going from below to above. Let's look at footnote 33 also that he brings from the Oira Torah. Let's go down to the bottom of the page. Oira Torah Sham, in the Maimer of the Tzemach Tzedek. Lechaber bechinas malchus al bechinas shimsho zer ampin. It's the opposite direction. It's about taking malchus and elevating it and to join it to the level of the sun. And the sun is shemesh havai, that's the level of zer ampin. And then he brings from Maimer the Rebbe Rashab, Sefer HaMorim Tafresh Ayin Ches. It says over there, the halosh of bechinas malchus oila ba'atzilus. The elevation of the level of malchus goes up to the world of Atzilus. Shesham Meir Gilu Shem Havai, over there in Atzilus shines the revelation of the name of Yud Kei Vav Kei. So therefore, instead of malchus going downward and dealing with Bia and dealing with Hazar Gashmi and dealing with going through the parsa like we spoke about, so it has to be just the opposite. Al Kain Hadlokil Bizman Shashemesh Meir. It's about the sun, and the sun shines before Shkia, and the sun is the Gilu Shem Havai Atzilus. So therefore, you light it specifically when the sun is shining. While the sun of Hashem is still shining, both in the literal sense and in the spiritual sense, indicating Dali and Atzilus. Last paragraph, Oisei, line 22. Through the kindling of the Chanukah candles. That's about drawing down from above to below. We affect, like the Rebbe many times explains, the Gemara that says that how late can one kindle the Chanukah licht? One can light it as long as there is still the Talmudoi peoples, whoever they were, a certain nation that they were, etc., that were still in the marketplace, because you have to have Persum Nisa, it has to be that some people are still out there. Literally, ad the Kalya Riglo Talmudoi, till the last footsteps of the Talmudoi are still out there. But Chassidus explains, Kalya Riglo Talmudoi means that even those people that are Talmudoi from the word Meredes, rebellion, and even the level of the leg, the lowest level, Rigla, the legs of those that are rebellious, they, through the Chanukah candles that illuminates the darkness, affects even them, that even they become a level of Kalya. They are ceasing to be murdered. And other places the Rebbe even adds even more so. Not just are they ceasing to rebel, but Kalya from the word Kiloyan, that they are also transformed and elevated to have a Kiloyan, an outpouring of themselves to Hashem. So it's a total ishapcha, mechashoichel and hoida, that they also desire Hashem. Until the future redemption through Mashiach, that he will come to bring tzaddikim to do tshuva. Tzaddikim doing tshuva is the two levels. Tzaddikim is the level of Malmayla Lamata, that's like the Shil of Havaya Ba'adnai, and Baal Tshuva is the Halor Malmata Lamayla, that's the idea of the Shil of Havaya Adnai Ba'avaya, similar to the difference between Neiris Chanukah versus Neiris Shabbos in the Beis HaMikdash. If you miles tzaddikim bal tshuva, if you bring tzaddikim to tshuva, you'll have both miles tzaddikim bal tshuva. V'hiratz, and the will should be the shekolza yibakar mamish. All this should be soon mamish bagol down, and our understanding of what soon is.